So here's a good conversation to have with your spouse. Where is our marriage at? I would start with this question. Where did you start? Imagine this is a scale of positive 10 to negative 10. And over here is where marriage feels powerful. Over here is where marriage feels miserable. Where would you put yourself on the scale in marriage? What number would you give yourself? So where did you start? In my opinion, every couple starts somewhere about here. When we get married, we are kind of like a 5-year-old that signs up for baseball. We're on a team, we have a uniform, and there's some good snacks after the game. But are we good at baseball? Not a chance. But that's okay. It's okay that a 5-year-old is not good at baseball. It's also okay that when two people get married, they don't have any skills yet because they haven't had a chance to play the game of marriage yet. Now, it's possible that people have some other issues that they face, and maybe when they get married, they start somewhere over here. That is also okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It requires a little bit more of a challenge and a little bit more work. But the reality is that if you find yourself starting over here somewhere, it's not because you're a bad person. And it certainly doesn't mean that you can't ever get to this place. It just means you're a human, and in your life you have faced some things that's going to make it take a little bit more work for you to work your way to this other direction. So it's important to acknowledge where you started. Nobody starts here. Nobody. So the next question is, so where are you now? This is where, if you're sitting there with your spouse and you're listening to this, you can pause this, and both of you think of your number in your head, count to 3, and both of you say your number out loud. Now that can be scary. That can be very scary. I don't think I have to even crawl inside of your head and think of all the fears and insecurities right now as you think about, okay, should I say a high number so they think that I think that we're doing well, or do they want me to give a real honest answer about how I feel? But if I say how I feel, are they going to hate that? Anyway, I know it feels like that could cause some anxiety, but do that exercise. Where are we now? What number do we put on where we are? Now, the last question becomes, how do we get where we want to be? The good news is, it doesn't matter where you are on this scale. All you need to do is go in the right direction. All marriages struggle. The question is not if a marriage has struggle. The question is, which direction do you struggle in? Do you struggle in this direction where life becomes, your relationship becomes powerful and life-giving? Or do you struggle in this direction where everything about your relationship is taking away from your life? It's all about the direction you're going in. Let me draw a picture to illustrate something. So the scale I drew looks like this. But here's the reality. Imagine it like a teeter-totter. When you're going the wrong direction, your marriage is going to feel like this. You feel like everything's going downhill in the wrong direction. It feels like such a struggle. You feel like everything is pushing you towards this place of failure. But here's the good news. Wherever we are in our marriage, if we start going in this direction, there's a tipping point. And that tipping point will cause our marriage to start to feel like this, where it feels like, you know what? It's easier and more natural for us to go in this direction. I feel like we're heading towards the good stuff. I feel like our marriage, our relationship, it's easier for us to have the good. You no longer feel this way, that you're constantly fighting the bad. You feel like you're more naturally experiencing the good. So I hope that visual helps. I just want to say to you there is incredible hope. And marriage is not going to constantly feel like an uphill climb. That's really important to realize. If you're right here in marriage and it's easy for you to go the wrong way, and this work feels so hard, it feels so impossible, and you think to yourself, well, is this what the rest of my marriage is going to look like? That every day I'm like I have to give 1,000% effort just to cause this to not fall apart? Like, that doesn't feel like a fun journey. There is this tipping point that will happen in your relationship where all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I don't feel like I'm working for my marriage. I feel like I'm enjoying my marriage. I'm no longer waking up afraid of what's going to go wrong today. I'm starting to wake up and feel good about what's going to happen today. So there is so much hope wherever you are. But let me finish with a couple of thoughts. How do you get where you want to be? First of all, you go in the right direction. Just move in the right direction. And to do that requires courage, not talent. That's really good news. Because how do two people have the intelligence to figure out their relationship? Marriage is a mystery. So it's a good thing that the basis of our relationship is not like this talent. We have a marriage skill. It's more about courage. For instance, do two people have the ability to even talk about these questions? That just requires courage. The second thing I would say, if you want to get where you want to be, is it requires conversations, not secrecy. Let's face it, the things in life that hurt us the most are the things that we most want to keep secret. When something is painful in our life and something's personal, it feels like the best thing we can do is keep it private, at least so that no one knows. Let's not stir up any trouble. So secrecy becomes the goal. But in the secrecy, there's not an answer. Actually, in the secrecy, things get worse. Conversations can change the course of people's direction. Actually, if I can clean up this picture a little bit, and we talk about the people going in the right direction, having a difficult conversation moves you a step in the right direction. Now, it's not going to feel like it. When you have one conversation, you're not going to feel like, oh my gosh, now we're here. You have one difficult conversation and it's going to move you from here to here. And it doesn't feel like much difference. And you face the next conversation together and it moves you to here. And then to here. And then to here. And uh-oh, look what happened. You crossed the tipping point. And all of a sudden your relationship is going to start feeling very different. And all you did is have conversations. This is what we do with people in our work. We help couples simply have conversations to go in the direction that you want to go in so that you get the results that you want to have. So wherever you are on the scale, there is tremendous hope for you. And maybe the only thing that you need to move your relationship to a far different place is courage and some conversations.